Hello there, very good evening to you. Welcome to this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice. Abu-Baidoo. We are coming to you live from our studios at the Platinum Place in Accra, streaming across the world via Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for your company once again. Let's take a look at our headlines. Tonight, heavy pushback against advocacy for a declaration of state of emergency in Galamsey fight as the Lands Ministry describes calls as political and small-scale miners refer to them as misplaced.
We are calling that our task force be empowered. I don't even want to talk about the forest reserves and the water bodies. Because when you go to the Mineral and Mining Act, nobody is allowed as a sports miner to be issued a license to operate between water bodies.
Meanwhile, Catholic Bishops' Conference throws weight behind calls for the declaration of a state of emergency in Galamsey area. Stay with us as we delve deeper into what a state of emergency is and the circumstances under which it can be declared. Also on the Big Push initiative, President Mahama gives contractors 24-month ultimatum to complete works. We'll bring you more as he launches project today. And in business, Ghana Police Service and Gold Board on manhunt for 4 persons suspected to be part of an illegal smuggling syndicate.
Key suspects in this case are at large. We are calling on the general public to, in the spirit of patriotism, share any information they may have about this individual.
A front TikTokers arrested for insulting Somalia's president in a dance video. Kindly stay with me for details of these and many other stories. I'm grateful for your company tonight. We begin with Insight. Now, the fight against Galamsey is still on, but the main concern for activists is that government isn't taking the most important decision at this stage in the fight, the declaration of a state of emergency. Civil society groups, environmentalists, and the University Teachers Association of Ghana have intensified calls for a declaration in Galamsey-prone areas. But President Mahama has explained that his reluctance stems from the belief that all available methods to combat the menace have not yet been exhausted. Despite his explanation, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey is urging the president to immediately declare a state of emergency in the areas hardest hit by illegal mining activities. Now, it cites constitutional provisions saying the scale and persistence of environmental crime, depriving communities of safe water and threatening public safety now meets the threshold for extraordinary action. Well, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has described these calls as political, and it argues that measures implemented by government so far are yielding results. Media Relations Officer of the Ministry, Pakwesi Shandov, spoke to my colleague Joshua Kojomensa on State of Affairs.
When we took over, the policies we brought out, the policies that we implemented, have been able to give us not perfect results, but very meaningful results. And therefore, it makes the declaration of a state of emergency moot, because now the policies are working. And so because it's working, now you begin to ask yourself, okay, if you are getting the results anyway, why would you go ahead and declare the state of emergency? For example, 9 forest reserves, which had armed illegal miners with guns and ammunition who were going to fire back. 9 of those, within a period of 6 months, have all been repossessed. So why are you going to declare a state of emergency now? The problem, you see, the whole conversation about the state of emergency, I think it is merely political. Okay, it looks like NDC said we're going to do this. They've come, they are not doing it. And people, but if we were as a people ever careful to study the content and examine the nuances and the rubrics of a state of emergency, I don't think we would even be so interested in it, because it is akin to, we can liken it to what we saw during the lockdown. When you go into any area and you declare a state of emergency, effectively you have curtailed their freedom, you have frozen their economic activity, you have put everything on freeze.
And much later in this conversation, I will be explaining to you, I'll be bringing you an explainer on what a state of emergency really is and what it entails. Meanwhile, the Small Scale Miners Association has also kicked against the increasing calls for a declaration of a state of emergency. Public Relations Officer of the group, Arafat Suleimana, spoke earlier on the newsroom.
I think it's unfortunate state agencies are calling for state of emergency at this moment when we haven't exhausted all the options we have available. For instance, we have been calling for empowerment as an association to be able to help fight illegal mining units. But when you look at the situation, we don't have willingness from the CSOs and the various organizations who are calling for the state of emergency declaration. We are calling that our task force be empowered. Because I don't even want to talk about the forest reserves and the water bodies. Because when you go to the Mineral and Mining Act, nobody is allowed as a sports miner to be issued a license to operate within water bodies or forest reserves. And so that is already illegal. It's already banned, so it's already in a state of emergency. You don't even need to go there in that discussion. Such task forces are not the small scale miners task forces.
So in one breath, you hear a group pushing against the declaration of the state of emergency, but the Catholic Bishops' Conference is asking the president to do so. I'll be speaking to the president of the Catholic Bishop Conference shortly. But first, what is a state of emergency? We're hearing that louder, and it's growing louder and louder. What exactly is a state of emergency? What can it be declared? And what powers does it give the government? Tutu Adanso breaks it down in this explainer.
Illegal mining, or galamsey as you know it, continues to ravage Ghana's forests, poison rivers and threaten communities. Some activists have called for a state of emergency in the worst hit areas. But what does that really mean, and why have successive governments hesitated to use this tool to deal with the menace? Under Article 31 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution, a state of emergency can be declared when there is a threat to public safety, a natural disaster, or if an environmental crisis occurs, or a situation is likely to deprive a community of the essentials of life. Here is the catch. The president can declare it, but not without Parliament's approval in 72 hours. Beyond that, it elapses. Once declared, the Emergency Powers Act comes into force, and this allows the state to restrict movements, deploy security forces, ban activities like the illegal mining we are all worried about in affected areas, and take control of lands or facilities to protect lives and resources. It gives the government sweeping powers, but not without legal and parliamentary oversight. So why not use it for galamsey? President Mahama has already explained why he is reluctant. And I don't speak for the government, nor do I sit in cabinet. But here are a few reasons I believe no government has declared a state of emergency over galamsey despite consistent calls. First, there is a human impact to consider. Ghana's artisanal and small-scale mining sector directly employs about 1 million people, with another 4 million relying on it indirectly. Large-scale mining adds about 34,000 more jobs. While a state of emergency could shut down illegal operations in some affected communities, there are some small-scale miners conducting their activities illegally, and this could cut off livelihoods. Second, the social backlash. Mining towns depend on this work, so a sudden clampdown could spark protests or even clashes, and we've seen similar tensions in recent weeks in the Ashanti region. Finally, the political risk. Mining areas hold votes and enforcing strict measures called anger key constituencies. So for now, this government, for instance, has decided to roll out task forces, river protection units and police deployments rather than pulling the emergency trigger. But let's draw the distinction here. A shoot to maim operation is not permissible under a state of emergency. The suspension of the Constitution can only happen under martial law. Martial law and a state of emergency are not the same. A state of emergency allows for the civilian government to remain in charge, but with temporary extra powers to deal with crises like disasters or civil unrest, as outlined in Article 31 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution. Martial law, on the other hand, replaces civilian authority with military rule, often suspending constitutional rights and operating without democratic oversight. Ghana's constitution provides no legal basis for martial law, ensuring that the military cannot take over governance even in emergencies. This distinction protects Ghana's democracy, maintaining civilian control while allowing the government to respond effectively to crisis. Declaring a state of emergency can bring about actions, but a cost Ghana's leaders have so far been unwilling to pay. Well, this is Sue Adams reporting for GHOne Television and Star FM.
The tone for our conversation. Thankfully, we've been joined by President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Matthew James. I'm grateful for your time this evening, Most Reverend. And we've seen you do it before. Last year, about 11 months ago, there was a prayer walk organized by Catholics in this country just to put pressure on the government at the time to take the necessary steps to end the illegal mining menace that has wreaked havoc across the country. Today, 11 months on, we seem to be in a far more complicated situation. Beyond what you say in your statement, what more do you think can be done to end this persistent problem?
Thank you very much. Now, radical and disastrous, like things like epidemic, when it happens, the president or the leader of the country takes immediate steps to redeem the country. A very recent one was the COVID. When a president realized that it's deadly and the way it was being promoted, it will destroy the nation, or so he thought. What did he do? He even asked us to people to stay indoors. That is to protect life because of the emergency situation, even though later we realized that it was not that dangerous. Now, Galamsey is right. It's a disaster. It's a cancer. It's eroding the livelihood of the nation. And it has grown and become so serious, so cancerous, that we cannot take piecemeal measures like what the government is doing now. All that is doing now, we have done that in the past. It didn't work. So the seriousness of the situation calls for something more radical, and that is what we call the state of emergency. It's not state of emergency in the whole nation.
Most Reverend,
yes, please.
Do you disagree then with the president that we haven't exhausted everything in the book? His argument is that I have more things to explore in the fight against Galamsey, and declaring a state of emergency should be the last resort. Based on what you say, that what we're doing now has been done in the past and we didn't see any results, do I get the indication that you disagree with the president on his reasoning?
With all due respect, I disagree with our knowledgeable president. If he has, let all of us know and let it be implemented immediately. What is it? What measures has he put in place that all Ghanaians should not share in? What is it?
Right.
What is hidden? What secret method does he have?
Your statement is quite a very detailed one, and you also talk about the fact that the declaration, while urgent, is not sufficient. You believe that the approach must be holistic. You also take the opportunity to speak to young people who are involved in Galamsey to desist from looking for quick wealth, because you believe that that is one of the reasons why people are increasingly engaging in illegal mining. Like I mentioned earlier, we saw a prayer walk. Beyond your statement, what is the Catholic Bishops' Conference going to do in your various parishes, in your various chapels, and also nationwide, that is if the president still insists that he won't declare a state of emergency?
Yeah, just to let you know that we have never relented in educating the people. At our parishes, in the villages, in the towns, about the evil of the Galamsey. So we think and we believe that the president, and you see, in spite of all this that we do, Galamsey is still what? Ongoing. That is why it calls for a radical decision. The only person who can do that, who has the tools, the means, the authority, and the backing of the Constitution, the only person who can do that is the president. He is the only one who can mobilize the entire resources of the nation to fight against this canker. And we encourage the president to have the courage to speak, the courage to lead and to save his nation from destruction. It is not a minor thing. And we don't speak just because we want to speak. And we also see what is happening on the ground. And Ghanaians also see. And we talk of employment. When people, say, destroy farmlands, do you know how many people you get out of jobs? You don't think of those people. And the livelihood, and the poison, and the water that we drink. Do you know how many people are really destroyed because of this? Some few people say we do not have jobs. And if you do not have jobs, does that mean that you should destroy people's farm? Does that mean that you should poison the water that they drink? What is this? Well, and the government even say we get money from Galamsey. That is very disappointing. That is blood money. Blood money. And the money that you get, the costs, the destruction and the harm that it has caused, you can't even use that money to repair that harm.
Right.
You can't.
Well, thank you for your time this evening, Most Reverend. We will stay in touch with you, and hopefully we will be getting a response from the presidency as calls intensify for the declaration of a state of emergency. You just heard Most Reverend Matthew Kwesi Gyamfi. He's Bishop of Sunyani and President of the Ghana Catholics Bishops Conference. Clearly sounding very disappointed, and even did express his disappointment in some commentary around our fight against illegal mining. Well, civil society advocates have also reiterated their call for an uncompromising stance against illegal mining, warning that justifying Galamsey based on youth unemployment undermines the rule of law and endangers Ghana's security. They argue that unless responsible cooperative mining proves effective, government must enforce zero tolerance to protect the nation's future.
We support the move towards the responsible cooperative mining. But until there's a clear, verifiable evidence of its success, there must be zero tolerance for illegal and irresponsible mining. As a nation governed by the rule of law, justifying illegal activities on the basis that they provide employment for thousands of youth is unacceptable. Allowing such practices to continue sets a dangerous precedent and poses serious risks to national security. We cannot be accepting the fact that in the past they did it, so allow us to do it. We cannot be allowing members of the ruling government saying that the MPP did it, so why are you preventing us from doing it? And that's some of the challenges that some of the people in the current government are facing. When they want to fight it, people within the political parties will now come and say, they did it, they are mass world. Why are you not letting us do it? And the time for all of us as citizens to fight this is now. At this time where His Excellency the President is still president, if you allow for the NDC to start getting into the mood where they now start going through the process of replacing the current president, then we are doomed. That is what we saw in the last government. The former president started fighting it. When it was getting close to the 2020 elections, you saw what happened. And then after that, that's all it's gone. So if we don't deal with this situation now, Mr. President, you have less than a year and a half to be able to tame this. If we don't, we are doomed.
That's President of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, Engineer Dr. Kenneth Ashibe, ending tonight's edition of Insight.
Kwame and his uncle are almost here.
Thank you for staying on News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo. So now 3 students of the Tamale Technical University have been hospitalized following violent clashes between students and the police during a protest against fee hikes and poor facilities. The demonstration, which started peacefully on campus, quickly turned chaotic as frustrated students confronted security personnel while demanding improved infrastructure from university management. The students accused management of failing to account for development levies charged over the years, arguing that despite continuous payments, no tangible projects have been undertaken. Mahmoud Musa is the public relations officer for the school's SRC.
For somebody to come and receive our petition, when the police, whoever, I don't know who called them, they come in there. I don't know, because they came in with the tense they brought and the anger they come in the manner of how they enter the places. Students were scared. So they have to spray hot water on students. That's where they start to pell stones. And they wounded some people. They are at the hospital, 3 of them. They just called that they should bring their health insurance. 3 of them. Why must students suffer for this? Demanding our right, what we are paid for and we're requesting for it. Why must my son suffer because of that? Up to now, not even one promise that management has honored the promise they gave us to accept the increment of school fees, and we are coming to increase school fees again. Why must we always suffer, paying without getting what we deserve?
Let me now bring you an update, especially on the persons who were hospitalized. Our Northern Regional Correspondent, Noah Nash, has more on this development. Noah, how are those who were taken to hospital doing?
So when you count those who were injured as a result of the rubber bullet, you are counting close to about 8 to 10 of them. So the number that was mentioned by him, that is one of the executives of the SRC, was basically about those that they managed to rescue. That was the 3 they rescued as a result of the rubber bullet that was actually dealt out to the students when the demonstration got into its peak.
Right. So do we know how these people are faring and in what condition they're in?
Those who received head injury were taken care of by the hospital, the university hospital itself, and 6 of the other guys who were also injured through the bullet wounds on their legs were actually also taken care of. There are about 3 of those individuals that are still at the hospital facility because of the stitches that they have to be taken through. Because when the rubber bullet hit some of them their head, we don't know whether it was a rubber bullet or it was as a result of running away from the water cannon that was actually spraying the hot water.
Okay.
They also got injured. So that incident, they had to be stitched on their head. So those 3 individuals are still at the hospital. But the rest of the other ones that we knew of, which are about 6 of them, they've all been discharged. But they were supposed to report back to the hospital tomorrow for further examination on that.
And have we heard anything from the police? Why exactly officials clashed with the students?
The police have been saying that when they were called in by the university authority that students were on demonstration that early morning, they did not want to intervene in the manner in which they did. What they wanted was that because the university has adjoining communities and they had blocked those sections of those roads, it became apparent for them to actually disperse them off and then allow free flow of traffic. Because that early morning, residents who were trying to use the university as the alternative route to go to their workplace were prevented. The majority of them were not able to go to work because of that incident. And other alternative routes that would enable them to go to work were also having demonstrators also on those stretches. So what the police tried to explain through the PRO was that they needed to actually allow that free flow of traffic until when some few recalcitrant ones actually pelted stones at their officers and they had to respond.
Right.
It was because of the students' reaction that actually brought in the force.
Finally, Noah. Right.
Hold on for a second.
Right.
And what also was the problem was that they also needed the fire service to quench out the tires that they were burning on the street. and they were also preventing the fire service from doing their lawful duty, then they needed to act in that manner. And they've not given us official statement yet, but the explanation given by the PRO is that they needed to respond based on the agitation that were coming from residents who live close by, who needed to use the route.
Right. Noah, what is the management's response to the concerns for which the students poured onto the streets?
The management have been very silent, even though we try reaching out to the PRO. The explanation they've given is that they will respond to the concerns raised by the student in the appropriate time. Especially the concerns raised by the student has to do with the certification issues. Where students graduate for almost 2 years, they've not received certification. And what we gathered from a reliable source was that the university have not made some payments to the accreditation unit. There's a unit for the HND program and the diploma program. Those accrediting units are the ones who actually gives out the certification. Under the new university policy, they still run an HND rules. And those HND activities they run is falling under another accreditation body. So those remittances have not been done for them to reconcile how many students will be graduating. That is what we gathered as an information from a very reliable source. But as to whether the university is actually having that challenge, we do not know.
Right,
so
Noah.
The PRO said they will confirm that at the due course.
I'm grateful for the updates. That's Noah Nash. She's a correspondent in the northern region, telling us about 8 persons who were injured as a result of that clash between police and students of the Tamale Technical University. And the students were protesting what they call underdevelopment, despite school authorities collecting levies over the years. From one protest to another, now members of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, that's the GPRTU, and the Container Owners Association of CMB say they believe in dialogue, hence their resolve to petition President John Dramani Mahama to intervene in the alleged takeover of their land, which serves as a market and a terminal. They allege that Wanda Sibre Dr. Asumedu Nyakwapia is taking over their land, which they've been occupying since 1986, when the then head of state, President GHOne Rawlings, allocated it to them. Here's more.
Scores of drivers and traders at the Cocoa Marketing Board CMB enclave of the Greater Accra region took to the streets to protest what they term unjustifiable takeover of their land, which they say, if not reversed, will put their livelihoods in jeopardy. Presenting a petition at the seat of government, they called for a dialogue.
Another businessman has come out saying the place, some of the portion has been allocated to him. And surprisingly, these issues come out due to the activities of the railway authorities. If you are a manager or a director at the railway, the government land does not belong to you. So we are pleading with the authorities. We've always been saying GPRT will believe in dialogue than violence.
Receiving the petition on behalf of the president, Bridget Otu, a presidential staffer, commended the protesters for seeking an amicable resolution.
I want to first of all say he sees this as very serious, and he will he will attach all the seriousness this deserves. I will go in there and submit it. Wait for the Chief Justice. When they come, then I'll hand it personally to them, so you know that the President will see your petition and he will attend to it as well. So thank you, first of all, for honoring the President. Thank you for not taking...
Some protesters shared their sentiments with the news team.
The land belongs to the government, and we have been there for more than 30 years. So if government want to release the land for somebody, we will be the first that government will have to contact us.
Land is ours, and it will remain ours because it has been given to us by a president. And what we know is that governance is continuous. So if a president gives it to us, and you, private encroacher or developer, you say it's for you, you will cease us not to operate. We will also resist because it's given to us by the state.
That's Despite presenting the petition, the GPRTU executives and the traders say failure by the presidency to resolve the matter will lead to more protests.
This is News Tonight with me, Bernice. Abu-Baidoo Lanza. It's now time for business news.
The Business Brief is brought to you by Ghana, passion for technology.
And in business tonight, the Ghana Police Service, in collaboration with the Ghana Gold Board, has launched a manhunt for 4 individuals linked to illegal gold trade. At a press conference in Accra, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, disclosed 3 members of the group have already been arrested and are in the custody of the National Intelligence Bureau. He further revealed that a bounty of 1 million cedis has been placed on each of the 4 fugitives.
As I speak to you, we have these 3 suspects in custody. They were first arraigned, as I've already indicated, before the High Court on the 5th of September and remanded into NIB custody for 1 week. They are still in custody because I suspect they've not met the conditions yet, but that is what the High Court has ruled, and until that changes, nobody can vary that. But 4 key suspects in this case are at large, and they are the main reason why we call this press conference. Number 1 is the transporter and accounts officer of Rafmore called Abdul Karim. The second is Afsar Putalan, the Indian who runs a lot of the gold businesses of Rafmore and was responsible for the Atakwa business and dealt directly with Abdul Razak and Benak. And then there is Sadiq Abubakar. And then there is the Chief Supremo himself, Rafiq Mohammed Nandole K. Salam. Other directors and shareholders of the company are also wanted. And so we are still pursuing them. We are calling on the general public to, in the spirit of patriotism, share any information they may have about this individual with the Gold Board or with the Ghana Police Service. He's wanted for gold smuggling, illegal gold trading, among other gold-related offenses. And there is a bounty of 1 million Ghana cedis on him. That which simply means that anyone who gives us information that leads to his arrest will be given 1 million Ghana cedis by the Gold Board.
Now, Vice President Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman has officially named Kota Odyssey the first dual-fuel container vessel at the port of Tema, marking a historic milestone for the Pacific International Lines in Ghana. The vessel, which is part of the new class series, will operate on PIL's Southwest Africa service connecting China, Singapore, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, and Cote d'Ivoire through a direct weekly shipping service.
I'm told that this vessel, that was, it took, 15 months to build from what you were telling me, runs on a cleaner fuel and advanced technology. And this aligns with Ghana's commitment to sustainability and efficiency. It also represents a kind of modernization we intend to implement across our ports and the maritime sector. Ladies and gentlemen, this occasion is a sign of the long-standing and ever-growing relationship between Ghana and Singapore.
That'll be all for business news.
The Business Brief was brought to you by Ghana, passion for technology.
Again,
Thank you for staying with me on News Tonight. Now, President Mahama has given road contractors under the Big Push Infrastructure Initiative 24 months to complete their work. According to him, $10 billion has been allocated for the project. Speaking at the sword-cutting ceremony in Ho for the commencement of the dualization of the Ho Aflao Road, he announced that a secretariat will be established at the presidency, staffed with engineers who supervise the works and report directly to him on progress.
The Big Push is a $10 billion project. If you convert that into cedis, it is 120 billion cedis over 4 years. I was talking with the minister, and he's allocating 30 billion cedis to the Big Push. So contractors have no fear, go full steam ahead. The finance minister has promised that for every Big Push contractor who brings a certificate, he will receive his money within 2 weeks. We are setting up a Big Push secretariat, which will be under the auspices of the Office of the President. We're going to have engineers and others working there, and we're going to keep monitoring the progress of all the projects. So they will visit the projects regularly from time to time at every stage to see the status of the projects. They will take pictures, they will take videos. And so I'll be sitting in my office and I can see what First Sky is doing on the Ho Aflao Road. I can see what Oswald is doing on the Afenya Dodowa Road. Every contractor working on every road in this country, I'll sit in Accra at the Flagstaff House and I'll see the work they are doing. There are a few wheelbarrow contractors who have come to me. Oh, I hear they're distributing projects under the Big Push. I want one. I said, my friend, this is not for wheelbarrow contractors. You are my friend, but I won't give you because it's not for wheelbarrow contractors. On this road, as I said, it's Oswald Investments Limited. And I can say with my hand on my heart that he's one of our best local contractors. The good thing is he works with speed. He works very fast, but he doesn't compromise quality. And so I want to assure the people of Dodowa, Afenya, Dawenya that you have on your road one of the best Ghanaian contractors doing your road. We've given him 24 months to finish, but he has whispered in my ear that he'll do it in shorter than 24 months. And I want to assure him that payments will not be a problem.
Meanwhile, the CEO and chairman of First Sky Limited, Eric Sedi Kwotoche, assured that only high-quality materials will be used to ensure durability and longevity of the roads.
The Big Push is a new initiative from the government. Volta region, as a region, has been allocated no less than 220 kilometers of network. And when we are talking about the network in the Volta regions, principally we are talking about the Eastern Corridor and the road from Atimpuku towards Anyirawase to Ho, to Denu and to Aflao. It's one of the important road network for the region. And this Big Push has captured it all from the beginning to the end. And that is a very, very significant. We have never seen such a major road network in this region for so many years. But for 177 kilometers of road network within the space of 2 years, it's a very, very, very significant. We are going to ensure that we employ the quality engineers, and there's going to be monitoring and evaluation on the project. It's not that we'll finish the entire project before the monitoring will take place. At every step on the way of the construction, we ensure that we employ the modern technology to undertake this project. And we believe that with the modern technology that we have now at hand at the first time, this work will be executed within a matter of 1.5 years.
Away from the Big Push initiative, the National Health Insurance Authority, the NHIA, has begun community sensitization on the newly launched free primary healthcare program on a pilot basis across 19 districts. In the Bunu region, officials engaged chiefs and people of Benunkwanta in the Sunyani municipality, highlighting how the initiative will expand access to essential health services for the vulnerable.
Goal 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals focused on ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all people at all ages by 2030. Key targets include reducing maternal and child mortality, ending epidemics, combating non-communicable diseases and substance abuse, decreasing road traffic injuries, and achieving coverage. The free primary health care pilot across 19 districts of Ghana is a step towards that goal, with only a little over 6 years to the target date.
When they went to hospital, they were made to pay some amount of money. They were made to go out and buy drugs. Now, what is causing that? So we are here basically to educate every member that we meet. And then along that, we also distribute our membership handbook to them.
The National Health Insurance Authority in the Bono region is rolling out public education on the initiative.
And what happens if tomorrow you fall sick, accident is there, anything can happen to us. So what we are praying that or preaching to the rest of the world is that NHIA is a powerful policy which all of us must join. And indeed, how much we even pay? We don't pay much. Even someone who wants to do it as a new entrant, it's about 25 cents. I don't think it's anything that should deter any one of us from not joining NHIA.
At a community engagement in Benunkwanta, NHS officials explained the benefits of the new program, its coverage and importance to the most vulnerable groups. Community members welcomed the initiative but appealed for improved resources, including delivery sets, oxygen machines, beds, and reliable security at rural health centers. Officials pledged to bridge the gap between its offices and remote communities, making registration and renewal of cards easier through mobile codes and the My NHIS app.
Time now to bring you the latest in the world of sports. And in sports, President of the Africa Arm Wrestling Federation, Charles Osei-Sibe, has credited his recent rise to the global stage as Vice President of the World Arm Wrestling Federation to teamwork and collaboration. Speaking on the game, he noted his achievement is not solely his own making, but the result of working with the right people who share his vision of advancing the sport.
Well, it is not my doing. I believe that I have worked with counselors. I have worked with a team. People who have told me what is right. The athletes themselves who have performed. You know, everybody around arm wrestling in Ghana, including my colleague journalists, everybody have played a role. I remember in 2023 when the world president came to Ghana, he made a statement. In 2024, he repeated that statement and said that I am the engine of Africa arm wrestling. So during Congress, he tabled that he thinks I should continue as an executive member and a vice president. And Congress unanimously agreed to this. So it is not my doing. First of all, it is God. Mm-hmm. Secondly, there's the people around me. Everybody, every Ghanaian who has played a role in arm wrestling has contributed to where I am today. I am not here by myself or for myself, but I feel that where I have gotten to, if there's any good thing that must come to Ghana as far as arm wrestling and the other sports is concerned, I should be able to influence that.
Well, Charles Osei-Sibe further expressed his joy that Ghana ended a 15-year wait for a medal at the World Arm Wrestling Championship.
Traveling here was going to be difficult because we had just returned from the Africa Championship where we won 55 medals. Corporate Ghana supported us. It would have been difficult. It was actually difficult going back to the same people who supported us to go to Africa. So we knocked at the doors of many partners. It got to a point we felt we cannot travel. Because even the visa process itself, we had to travel back into Abuja by air to go and get the visa before we traveled to Bulgaria. It was hectic, but thanks to the support from the National Health Insurance Authority, who had decided to, partner us in development, they ensured that our registration and participation in this championship came through. We came here with 3 athletes, and I must confess that I am coming home very, very elated, not because we have been retained on the seat, but because these young lads have been able to win a world championship medal. I must say that in 2005, Margaret Simpson and Gaza did something for Ghana. And then let's say in football, the under-20 did something in 2009. Since 2009 till today, no national team has been able to win a global medal. And for me, I don't take this lightly.
It's now time for International News Update. Now, police in Somalia have arrested 4 TikTokers for allegedly insulting President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud in a dance video. In the post, several young men are seen dancing to a remix of a campaign song or election bid in 2022, but this time with the lyrics altered to include derogatory language. In a statement, the police said the suspects were in custody and will be formally charged. They've not commented since the arrest. Several social media influencers have been arrested and jailed in the past for spreading clan-based insults, incitement, or immoral content on platforms like TikTok. But this is the first case involving a top politician. In August last year, 7 TikTokers were sentenced to 6 months in prison by a court in the capital, Mogadishu, for provoking civil unrest and spreading immorality. And that'll be all for this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo. I'm really grateful for your time this evening. There's more news when you log on to starfm.com.gh. I've been produced tonight by Awusi Dede Jange. From the entire team, we wish you a very good evening. Take care.